Hello everyone, before we get started, don't forget to subscribe. Click on that notification bell. Like, share, comment, let us know what you're thinking. You could also follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, today on the Angel of Words podcast, we will be talking edibles with the owner of Baked NYC, Candice Grisette. On deck on the Angel of Words podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Angel of Words podcast. I am your host, Angel of Words, and today we will be talking edibles with the owner of Baked NYC, Miss Candice Grisette. Hello, Miss Candice Grisette. How are you? Thank you for being a part of the Angel of Words podcast today.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, Miss Candice, let's get to it. A lot of fans out there are excited about this topic of conversation. And first of all, I would like to know, how do you get involved? How do you know that you're good at making edibles? What was your motivation behind this situation?
Well, it's not something I went into intentionally, which makes it kind of more sweet in a way to me. That it was not, I don't want to say a hobby either. I used to work in an insanely busy restaurant in Times Square, and I used to buy them from someone because in those shifts, 9-10 hours on your feet, high volume, stress, madness. By the time 9-10 p.m. comes around, everybody kind of needs some kind of stress reliever. You know what I mean? You can't run outside. You can't smoke. You can't. Well, I guess there were people who did. I didn't like to. I don't like to smell like smoke and be waiting on people and disappearing. So I used to buy edibles from someone, and she moved away. And I was like,
You're such a courteous service industry employee.
She moved away, and I was like, okay, I need to fill that void now, So I started baking them for myself and for whoever else used to buy from her too. And I used to sell them at work, on the low in the coat room or wherever we, in the locker room. And, just as trying to, for the people, mood elevators, make sure everybody's good and we can get through our shift, And then I ended up losing that job and decided to go all in full time and printed some business cards and got a burner phone and put a little site up, and here we are.
Okay, now discussing that, burner phones, so this is not something that is 100% legal? I thought it was.
No,
not at all.
I mean, it's not legal in New York. In other places, yes.
Okay.
Do I have a certain amount of risk? Yes, because it's not legal. There are certain laws that you can get caught with certain amounts of weed and you'll be okay and all of that. But technically, it's not legal for me to be selling edibles. I think that if I get in front of a judge, are they going to throw 20 years at me? You know what I mean? Or how are they going to measure? Are they going to open the brownie and see how much oil
Yeah.
So it makes it a kind of a minimal risk, which is what I was willing to take on.
Okay.
But technically it is not legal.
Now, what kind of edibles do you make?
Mostly cupcakes. I have done cakes, but the majority of my
real
business,
cakes, like cakes, like birthday cakes type of deal?
Birthday cakes, bring them
Oh
to
my God.
a whole party and icing and candles and adult parties, if you will. But mostly it's a cupcake, a regular size cupcake. I sell them for $10. I sell a half a dozen or a dozen, and different flavors. Triple chocolate is the norm, which is delicious, super chocolatey, rich. Ghirardelli, the best. Coconut oil. I use all the good stuff, And then I'll do funfetti or red velvet. People ask me for blueberry. In the fall, I'll do pumpkin. Change the flavors up. I can take requests, whatever mix I can find. Really, I just turn the weed into oil and then I bake with it.
All right, so yeah, could you describe that? Was just actually wanted to. That was actually the next question, because this is mind-boggling to me. I'm thinking you're cooking edibles. I'm like, did somebody just put in like freaking a 20 bag on top of a pan and like burning it down, caramelizing it? Like, how does this work? Like, I never, like, I don't know, for some strange reason, like, I just don't comprehend this process.
I
So,
mean, it
you
is
know,
a
could you
process.
describe the process? Yeah. So, could you
It is
describe
a
that
process.
process?
I basically cook the oil and the weed together for hours and hours, and then I'll drain the weed off, and then I have kind of like a coconut oil infused with weed, basically, and it's super dark and green and smells kind of, you know, depending on who's smelling it, I guess. So sometimes it's like, whew, that's a lot. And then I just bake with that. I can bake cakes, cupcakes, whatever, amount for a regular baking recipe. So it's not
Really?
it's not the hardest thing to do, but it can be a little bit tedious because it takes time. It takes a lot of ingredients, some patience. And in the beginning, I started this in 2016. In the beginning, was a lot of trial and error. It was like, ugh. And then
Yeah.
I'd eat one and be like, I don't feel anything, or I'd eat one and be like, whoa, that cooked for way too long or too short, or it took a little bit of trial and error for me to get my get my recipe down to a science that I've nailed it now.
Did you bake before this though? Did you like to bake before that? Like,
Really?
or were you a chef making weed reductions before this? Like, this is
I
crazy.
mean, I'm definitely a decent cook, but I wasn't a big
Yeah.
baker by any means. I wasn't,
Oh man, wow.
Betty Crocker, not at all. I mean, more now, but I'm not gonna front now like I'm, the best baker in the world. I just follow pretty simple recipes, But
I know, but you're being humble, man. You know what I'm saying? From what I
yeah.
hear around the way, you're one of the best in the city, not for nothing,
Oh
But
yes, the
I'll
product
be the
is
one
good.
gassing it up. Yeah, the product is pretty fantastic
The
from what I'm
product
hearing,
is
around
good.
the way. Yeah.
I'm
That's
not gonna pretend to be cake boss either, because
yeah.
I'm not one to front. I'm not doing crazy designs or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I've nailed the recipe in terms of the outcome for what, for edibles and not pretty pretty cakes. I've got that down for sure. They're pretty good.
Do you
They
put weed
definitely
in
will
your
snack.
icing and all that or not? Do you put
No,
icing on these cakes?
no, you know what? The icing doesn't travel well for me to deliver and all that, and
Okay.
especially in the heat. Or so, like if I were to do a cake, I would come to the party, the cake separate from the icing, and do the icing and everything there, which is what I've done in the past. And then I would kind of portion it out too, so that nobody eats too much because it's still an edible, and people will forget. Oh my God, this chocolate's so delicious. And next thing you know, they're smacked and and can't move. And I don't want anybody to not have a good time. You don't want
Yeah.
anybody to eat too much and not enjoy it too.
So do
And
you
that
monitor
happens.
the doses? You monitor your doses when you're putting it when
Yeah.
you're putting it in these
When I
edibles?
saw the one cupcake, I always tell people
Mm-hmm.
to start. It depends. I have friends who'll eat two, and that's amazing to me because I'm such a lightweight. I'll eat a half and I'm good. So I always tell people, especially new customers, just start with a quarter or a half, give it an hour, and then go up from there. Because I know people who've eaten too much and they're like, oh my gosh, what was in that? I'm like,
So do you put these claimers on these cupcakes? I was gonna actually ask you that. It's funny that you brought that up.
I just kind of give them the heads up to start small.
Okay.
It's kind of like medicine, right? The least effective dose of any pill is what you want to take, right? So
Yeah.
start small, give it an hour, give it time, because if you're going to ingest it, it's totally different than smoking. Give it time to work for you first, and then see how you feel. See if you need eat more from there, because starting too much will ruin your time. You'll never want to eat an edible again, and that's not what we want. We want everybody to have a good time without feeling like they're really tripping out on some hardcore drugs, because that's not necessary either, right?
No, that's a fact. And a lot of cannabis consumers say that, the edibles hit you harder than the actual smoke because with the smoking, you could actually see what you're consuming. With the edibles, it's like
Right.
you have to take, the person's word for it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
some people don't like it for that reason. They'd like to be able to smoke and clip it and stop, and they have control over
Yeah.
the high. Whereas an edible, you'll eat it and you don't really know what's going to happen, and it kind of will creep up on you. It kind of escalates where you feel like, okay, and then it just keeps climbing. And then some people, it's 8 hours later, it's still going. Or some people tell me they slept for 16 hours straight. So it depends. It depends on the person. Like I said, I'll eat a half and I'm good. I have people who eat 2 whole cupcakes, which I think is bonkers. I've eaten once or twice, and that was too much for me, you know? So it's hard because everybody is different and everybody's body is going to ingest it differently and react to it differently. So it's definitely very different than smoking, 100%. It's much more of a body high. So
now, you don't sell these products to kids, because there's 11 million kids under the age of 18 that are consuming cannabis. Do you allow your product to be sold to people below the age of 18?
I've never sold
Okay.
to anyone who wasn't completely an adult.
Okay, so
I
you
think
just work with adults.
Yeah, I think that's the responsible thing to do, right?
I mean, hey, I don't know. It's your business. You know, in America, we tend to want law and order, but never want to follow rules, which is like the most mind-boggling thing to me ever. Wow.
Capitalism.
Yeah, no, facts. Now, is there a certain dosage that you put into? Now, in terms of before I ask that question, right? Because the first question is of the amount of dosage that you put into each edible. The second question is, do you only make cakes and those kind of sweets, or do you make brownies? Do you make cookies? Do you make like chocolates?
The brownie is my main. I make a brownie, but in a cupcake form. So I use brownie mix, but in a cupcake shape, basically. Okay. And then I do the same for the funfetti or the red velvet, still in a cupcake shape, but they're just those mixes. I do make gummies per request, but I do way more brownies than I do gummies. But I can and I have made gummies, which are interesting because I'll do different sizes and big huge ones that people love. They're way too strong for me personally, but people love them, and that's same kind of high, same experience really, just different sizes and shapes and the different flavors, obviously.
Now, do you use the same type of cannabis, or do you use different type of cannabis, leaves in terms of to make your products? Like, do you use the same kind of marijuana, or is it different kinds?
So I prefer to use, and smokers will know, I prefer to use shake, because shake will allow me to use more for less money.
Could you describe what shake is for those non-smokers that are out there?
Shake is like the remnants of the bud that's left in the bag, but it wasn't big enough to sell, So it's like the broken down bud. That's not. It's usually the leftover kind of. That's not really baggable, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'll try. It's hard to. It's not always easy for me to get. So sometimes it's just bud, and then I grind it too. So, because I'm going to break it down and turn it into something else. I don't use like regs and horrible quality, but I always use great top quality, but I don't really need to pick and choose and go crazy over whether it's going to be shake or this or that or the other, because I'm turning it into oil anyway,
Yeah.
So I don't always consistently use the same kind of bud, but always the best that I can get.
Okay, so you're looking for the best top-notch quality shake, if you will, in order to do this. Now, is that something that you can find on the market? Like you go out there looking for shake? How do people look at you?
It's hard. People are like, what? your average Joe drug dealer is like, why are you looking for shake for? And it's like, I'm baking, I'm making it, I'm turning it into oil. I need it for something else. So it's not easy. I don't always get my hands on it, but when I do, it's better for what I need it for, because I can use more of it and kind of get stronger for less money, So
are there times where you actually have to buy the actual marijuana and let it break down?
Oh yeah. I break it. I just grind it.
Okay.
I grind it either way. So I don't always get my hands on the shake. I would prefer to, but I most of the time it's regular bud.
Wow. Now you know what kills me is that in North America in 2020, it's projected that, well, first of all, marijuana is the largest cash crop here in America, more than corn, more than wheat. $30 billion expected to be made this year. There's the issue with legalization, fundamentally throughout the 50 states. But what I've seen occur is that most of that is controlled by large corporations and people in the positions of power, which is making it hard for, growers to work with people like you directly and actually start a business.
Right.
explode your business, expand your business. Like, how do you feel about that? That the government kind of is like suppressing, marijuana entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and I think about that too, especially when we talk about kind of watching to see when it will be legal in New York. And I'm like, how do I get ahead of that curve even? Because I know once it is legal in New York, what does that mean for me? You know what I mean? Because once it's legal in New York, that's just going to mean that big business is going to come and try and take it over, and I'm not going to really have, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'm not necessarily going to have what I have now if they're going to try and come and make all the money from it, right? And take it from the little guy. So I think that's just the name of the game, any game in this country, unfortunately, is, this capitalist society where they have the power, and I am kind of powerless and just, another squirrel trying to get that nut in the rat race, unfortunately.
Okay, but you do make an effort to make sure that you're staying on top of the game when it comes to that, because when that happens, man, you're going to be in a great position to, expand and explode, into different avenues.
I've worked with someone who sponsored me on her site, who is a marijuana brand expert, and she's asked me if I want to look into, getting brand equity and doing these things. So it's something I'm looking into and talking about and trying to stay ahead of for sure, because it's important. I don't want to get squashed when it turns into big business here in this state,
No, definitely. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has caused that $30 billion boom. What has it been like for business during the pandemic? Because everybody has seen, as you can see, everybody knows that the consumption of marijuana has skyrocketed during this pandemic situation. How has that affected you personally?
At first, it was amazing. I think it kind of leveled off after a while, but at that first, April especially, and I was like, is it because of 420? Because you know how that, in marijuana culture is such a big thing for everybody. April was a huge month. I was doing like quadruple the business I was doing before then. And then May was good too, and then it kind of leveled off a little bit. I think the hype of everybody being in the house kind of it wore off, and I was like, okay. But at first I was busy. I was delivering all the time. I was all over the place, all over the boroughs, Jersey, everywhere. And I was fine with it. I'm fine with that. So that works for me.
I can imagine.
It was not a complaint. I kept saying to people too, like, I don't like these people. People are sick. People are dying. But this is actually, helping my business grow a little bit. So I'm not mad at this. But I just wish that people weren't, sick and a pandemic across the whole world for me to benefit here.
Yeah, no, but speaking about that, I mean, do you make particular edibles for people dealing with that kind of anxiety? Because, that has been a big deal here. A lot of people going through mental stress, and not for nothing, they've been turning to, like those kind of herbal treatments in order to make themselves feel better about the situations that they've been in.
I haven't had that for the pandemic in particular, but before the pandemic, I would make them for cancer patients. Because they're very, very helpful I've unfortunately had a couple of friends and a couple coworkers who have had different levels and stages of cancer, and it's very helpful for them, for their appetite, for the nausea, for sleeping. A lot of them can't sleep during chemo, can't sleep and eat, and they're nauseous and they're sick, and the brownies help a lot. And that is even, more fulfilling for me. I would much rather be, helping sick cancer patients or any sick people than just, having potheads get stoned all day, So anytime I was able to do that was great. But not the pandemic, not the coronavirus. I haven't found that people are like not any more than normal, in terms of helping them with any sickness related stuff. But cancer patients, it definitely has been helpful for.
Is that something that's important to you, like doing that with that kind of substantial situation in as an underlying theme?
Absolutely. I would much rather build my business helping anyone feel better or have even just their mood elevated. Or like I said, when I started out, it was more like all our coworkers, we're all miserable. By 10 p.m., we're just exhausted. We're burnt out. We're tired. We're stressed. I liked being the person who could lift everybody up for a couple hours and get us through, you know? So I would much rather build a business that's helping people, that's helping sick people feel better, helping cancer patients eat something and get a good night's rest than just, like I said, just recreational, you know, nothing to do. Let's eat a brownie and get smacked, you know?
What are some things that the cancer patients tell you, man, after they take your edibles?
Just that it helps so much, that they had such a hard time sleeping, that, you know, they finally got a good night's rest, that they finally got those munchies and were able to eat something after like kind of vomiting, not being able to hold down food. And I'm sure it's tough probably to be hungry and not be able to, you know, keep that meal down. So I'm glad that it was helpful to them in that way, but they definitely took it as, you know, it was relief.
Is that one of the reasons why you believe, I mean, first of all, do you believe in the legalization of marijuana 100%? Because, you know, there's a lot of critics out there that say, oh, cannabis is a health risk. It shouldn't be legal. It impairs your judgment. It makes you fat, lazy. You know, it doesn't make you productive. Like, what do you have to say to those kind of critics out there that believe that?
I have, and it's tough, right? Because this is a business I own and that I want it to thrive and I want it to do well, but I'm an honest and real human and I have mixed feelings about it. I believe in the legalization because I think that alcohol is way more harmful, personally, way more harmful and dangerous and poisonous. I don't, however, think that marijuana is completely harmless for everyone. You know, I have seen it affect people negatively. I know that it affects me negatively sometimes. You know, sometimes I have no motivation, no drive. Just I ate a brownie last night, so I sleep a little longer the next day, or, you know, so. If you can manage it and be functional with your marijuana use, good for you. It doesn't mean that everybody else can too, you know? So I won't be that extremist person or I won't lie just because it's my business and say, oh, it's great, it's harmless, and it should be legal and it's fine for everyone, because it's not. I know that it's dangerous for people who are mentally ill. I think it triggers something in their brains that is not good. Beyond not good, it's just dangerous for them. And unfortunately, some people don't know until they go there, you know? So I do think, however, in terms of legalizing it, that's not, especially, I hate the idea that so many people are in jail for these marijuana offenses that were, you know, compared to other crimes and other drug-related crimes even, you know, I don't think that that's right. But I do support the legalization because I think that it's not half as dangerous as alcohol, the DWs, you know, I don't think that people are going to run somebody over because they smoked a joint or ate a brownie, but alcohol is legal, you know? So
yeah,
I go back and forth with it. I don't think it's black and white. I think there's a lot of gray there, you know?
Yeah, and that's one of the issues. Like, you think that they'll be able, in your lifetime, you think that the governor will be able to make some form of legislation to be able to monitor the legalization of weed?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's doable. And I think it's been done other places, you know? California, Colorado, Portland, I believe there are places that are thriving and their economies are thriving too. So I think it's worth a shot. I mean, I don't have really like harsh convictions about it either way, but I don't think that it's harmful to make it legal.
Now, do you deal with it? Have you seen any addicts coming your way? Because everybody's like, oh, weed is not addictive. Now, as a person that's selling edibles, you know, in that realm, have you seen addicts? Have you seen addictive behavior? Have you seen people that are like, yo, they can't live without your edibles?
I would say I have a couple that are very consistent and that they've told me that, like, I need them. They you know, I want to come home from work and have this release, or I want to play I know I have a couple guys who want to play their video games and go into that zone, and they're pretty consistent about making sure they get their, you know, their product, but not in a degenerate way, if that makes sense.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, do you notice, are gamers like your biggest? Because I would imagine that maybe gamers are like your biggest clientele base? Like, can you describe for us like your biggest clientele base from what you've seen in terms of like what you've noticed from your
It's
clientele
funny.
base?
I don't really have it's, it's all over the place. It's people you
Okay.
wouldn't, like middle-aged to younger to, I have one or two that I know are gamers. I have a married couple with teenage kids, Jersey, Queens, the Bronx, from all over the place. There's really no set demographic, women,
Okay.
men, younger, older. So I really
Okay.
don't have one specific demographic that's into this. It's for everyone.
That now there's a lot of jokes being thrown around. Do you deal, about this situation in terms of like, gangs and hoodlums being upset about the fact that weed is being legalized because it kind of kills their hustle, and
Mhm.
the average Joe schmo can get into it. Do you deal with any of that kind of hostility or gang violence, if you will?
When I started at the restaurant, apparently someone else there was also selling them, and he came up to me like, "I have a bone to pick with you," and I laughed because I thought it was hysterical. like to
Yeah.
act like we were on the block, and it was hysterical to me. But I really haven't had any other. Most people are supportive. Most people are, will spread the word for me or tell someone about it. But I do know other people who have done it, and that just other than that one instance where we were, I guess, both in the same restaurant, and he felt like I was stepping on his toes, which was
Yeah.
I just laughed it off. It was funny to me.
Now, how do you make your deliveries? Is it like you go in person, or you have people doing it
Just
for
me,
you? Is it
just
just
me.
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully,
Okay.
I'll be big enough one day where I'll need people to go for me.
I
But
mean, the
right
way
now,
things are going, you never know. Looks like it might happen. Now, what makes your edible special? Tell the public out there what makes yours the best out of it. Because I know someone that has taken your edibles. You know what I'm saying? And they told me those were the best that he's
so
ever
good.
had. Yeah,
I
like honestly speaking, and so I want you to tell the public what makes your edibles the best that you can find out there in the edible game.
I really I put a lot of energy into perfecting the recipe in terms of the weed and the oil and the ratios and how long to cook it for, and that was years ago. So I've just been consistently perfecting that since. So that's one factor. And then the other factor for me is just that I use top of the line everything. I really do. It's the best coconut oil. I don't skimp on anything, if that makes sense. And you know what? To be honest, I'm not a greedy person, so my profits, I could charge way more than $10. I could charge way more than I do for the gummies. And I'm just not greedy. That's not what it's about for me. Like I said, when I first started it, it wasn't to make money and pay bills and to hustle. It was just something I was doing on the side because I like to eat edibles, and they weren't there for me anymore to buy. So I think that helps. Like, I think your intention and your energy behind something always makes it better if it's pure. So the fact that I really use delicious Ghirardelli triple chocolate mix and the best coconut oil, and I get the best weed that I can, and I take my time and energy and put all my love all my love and
The Grisette baked NYC love into it.
exactly, yeah. And I care about people enjoying it. I care about them not eating too much, or I care about them feeling it and that they had I give people comps. I make sure that they enjoy it. So it's not just, I'm doing this to, make money and just push it on people. So I think that helps too. My intentions are pure.
Now, that's good. I mean, you always have to have pure intentions. We all start off things that we love with pure intentions, and then
Right.
capitalism gets in the way. It's just the
Yeah,
unfortunate aspect of living in America. What can you do?
yeah, that hasn't not well, not yet. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep it there. But they're just delicious too. They taste good. One of the things I love about them is they don't taste like weed. I know when I used to buy them, I hated biting into something. I'd buy a chocolate or a brownie, and all I taste was weed. It's like I could have just stuck a dime bag in my mouth so I wanted to just eat weed. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I really have masked the flavor completely. So it just tastes like a baked treat. and it's chocolatey and delicious, which also messes people up because they're like, it tastes so good and I ate too much. And so I try and make it so that it's not too strong, that people enjoy it without freaking out, because I know that can happen for edibles, that they just, if it's too much, they're too high and they can't control it, they can't stop it, then they're on this roller coaster ride. So I think it's just the perfect balance of it being strong enough that they get that edible experience they were looking for, but not too strong where they don't enjoy it, and then it tastes so good.
That's tough because, I've smelled an edible before and I'm like, damn, this shit smells like weed. For this, just freaking smoke it. Like, you know what I mean? If you're going to go that hard, you know, but you're able to actually mask that cannabis smell in your edibles.
Like, it'll be very faint.
It'll be a faint smell.
It's easier with the triple chocolate to mask it for sure, because it's just so chocolatey. So more on the funfettis and the red velvet. I keep looking over at all the mixes I have over there. Definitely the smell's a little stronger with other mixes, but the taste is usually pretty on point in terms of, like, you're not going to bite into one of mine and just taste weed, because I personally don't like that. So
okay,
I think it's important when you're just like, I was a bartender and a server for so many years. So when I go out to eat, it's different. So that's how I used to wait on people is how I wanted to be treated when I went out to eat, which makes it a really good experience for people, because I'm thinking about, if I were sitting down at this table, would I want someone to talk to me like that, or roll their eyes, or not give me a straw, or not ask me how my meal was? So it's the same idea that I used to eat edibles. I do eat edibles, so I'm giving people the same experience I would want to receive. I don't want to taste the weed. I want it to taste delicious. I don't want to be too high that I think I'm going to jump out my window.
Yeah.
And I don't want to eat it and not feel anything. So I want it to work, So I think I think that helps me, is that I'm a customer. So that's that cliche commercial.
No, it's all right. It's about the customer service for you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Remember the commercial? I'm also the president.
Yeah. Yo, that's hilarious, man. Do you have anything available to show us that you've made that's already pre-made?
I only have confetti. You know what? I have this menu. I made a menu recently that's kind of cute.
Okay.
Has all these pictures.
That is super dope. Look at that, man. That is absolutely
cute?
Gorgeous.
Aren't
right now,
cute?
folks that are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts, she has up a menu that shows all the different edible arrangements, no pun intended, of all the the cannabis edibles that she makes for everyone.
And this is funfetti.
Look at that. Right now we're looking at a cupcake with beautiful colors. It looks like a Mr. Softy, treat. It looks fantastic. Like, oh my God, that would totally trick me, because I like sweets. I don't like cannabis, but I do like sweets. And man, that looks amazing.
Yeah,
I would totally eat that.
Don't eat too much, because you just look like you're gonna, eat a nice little cupcake.
So how much of that how much of that can you eat and get a substantial cannabis high?
This is a mini.
Okay.
This is different. Like, that's a mini. That's a regular size. I can eat a mini and feel it in 45 minutes and be good.
Okay.
And for nights where I'm like, I want to squint at the TV a little bit.
Yeah.
And really be high, I'll eat a half of this one. And then I have friends who eat this whole thing.
Yeah.
Or I have friends who eat two. So it really depends on your body. And I always just say, for your first time, eat a quarter or half of this and give it an hour and see how you feel. And then you'll know your dosage, because it's really different for everybody.
That's beautiful.
Now, how long those gluten-free too?
Oh, those are gluten-free. Well, that's great. I was going to ask you about that. Do you have like anti-allergenic, brownies that you offer, gluten-free, wheat-free, things of that nature?
I have not
figured out
vegan yet.
Okay.
Vegan I'm still working on, because I have to really figure out how to not use eggs.
Yeah.
But gluten-free, I can do funfetti, and they're still delicious. And that's it, really. They've only asked me for vegan and for gluten-free. I'm assuming people have dairy issues too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that's lactose intolerant and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you're still working on the menu, but the menu's available, but you're still working on trying to get those products out to people.
We have an Instagram page, _NYCC, which has tons of these pictures where you can see the cakes and the red velvet
Okay.
and the chocolate, and I try to make it fun and put cute little captions, of course. But yeah, my little engine that could.
Now, how long does the high usually last? Do you have like a customers coming telling you how long the high usually lasts?
That's another thing that like someone will tell me, I ate one and I slept for 17 hours, you know, and for me, I think it's normal to call it around 6 hours.
Okay.
I think 6 hours is safe, but I think for some people it can be longer. Not usually shorter though. So you get a good 6 to 8 hours.
You're getting a decent effect for what you're
Absolutely.
doing, you know.
For $10, that funfetti I showed you, $10.
That's amazing, man.
That's not a bad deal, right?
Well, no, you know, we're gonna get to that right now. I mean, a little later on, but right now we reached the point of the podcast where we're gonna play 5 Words with Angel. Now, Candice, on 5 Words with Angel, I'm gonna say a word. You're gonna give me the first word that comes to your head. Okay, you ready for 5 Words with Angel?
I'm ready.
Here we go. The first word is cannabis.
Mary Jane.
All right.
I thought similar.
All right. The second word is baking.
The first word that came to my head was heat, because I get so hot while I'm making
Okay.
these My kitchen is
Damn,
small
I can't
hot.
imagine. Yeah, you know, it's the casualties of war, if you will. You
right,
know
we're not in my big commercial
oven.
kitchen
Yeah.
with so it's hot.
All right. Our third word here on 5 Words with Angel. It's actually a phrase. It's complete legalization of marijuana.
Hells yes. So that I can stand on street corners and not have to hide.
Yeah. All right. The fourth word is, phrase. This is gonna be your favorite edible.
Triple chocolate chocolate brownie. The best.
Yummy. Damn, that sounds good.
It's
Without
so
the
good.
cannabis situation, because forget it. I'll go on a trip. I think I'll never come back, bro. I'll be somewhere in Tahiti. Crazy. All right. The fifth and final word on the 5 Words with Angel. Now, I know you've been very, very political on your Instagram. So my 5th word is Black Lives Matter.
Woo. All for it. Black power. Rise. We need to rise. I'm Jamaican. Go figure that Jamaican girl would end up pushing.
You know, we're not even gonna go into that. You know, we're not about stereotypes here on the Angel of Words. So anybody can be in that. You know, it just happens to be that you're Jamaican. You know.
But you know, I was raised by a strong, really super smart and in the know, intelligent Black woman. So I know my history. I know that there are some intricate systems in place designed to keep us, not just Black, Spanish, Asians, even, you know, just the little man down. So I'm all for it. That the unity and organization and structure, we need to rise. And I want to see, in my lifetime, I would like to see a lot more change than is happening right now. So I'm hopeful.
So you don't believe the Black Lives Matter movement is trying to cause a socialistic utopia that's going to take over the world and change our form of government as we know it, as the Republican people seem to think that's going to happen?
I mean, it's a very convenient narrative because obviously they have to have one, you know? So I try and not give it any glory because it's ridiculous to me. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means. But I also really take in different point of views and things that make sense to me. I'll take them, you know, like, okay, I could see how maybe that's possible. Sure. But for the, you know, what is, and fundamentally there are really broken systems in place that they're not broken for them. They were designed to keep all of us down and where we are, you know, and they keep kind of reminding us, stay down, stay in your place. And, you know, they're going to come up with whatever argument they need to push their agenda and their narrative. So if that's what works for them, okay. But no, Black Lives Matter, I think, just came from just seeing how so many of us can get shot and killed or mistreated or mischarged and nothing happens. We don't matter, you know? So to me, it's just that simple where it came from or what its intentions are, you know?
Any thoughts on Kamala Harris being the vice presidential nominee?
She's Jamaican. I'm for it.
Yo, that's a fact, word. Well, you know, that is a fact. Yeah, now you can't say anything negative. You're screwed there.
No, you know what? I saw a meme that had Bernie and AOC, and it said what I ordered versus what I got with Biden and Kamala. And I was, that's more where I stand with that. And it's just like, for me,
well, AOC's too new in the game. She has no power right now. You know, she's dope, and then she's the most hated woman in America, and she gets a lot of props for that. And I would love to get her on the show. That's one of my dreams. But you know, she's just too young in the game. She's a baby in the game. You know, she's a guppy. She can't. You know, Kamala's been a beast in the game for a minute.
At the same time, we have a man who is our president who had no political experience. You know?
Yeah, but he's been dealing with politicians his whole life. You know, Trump's been dealing with politicians moving and grooving in the city since like the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he knows how it's played. Yeah, definitely. But he's had too many dealings with government.
At this point, for me, I just want to get him out.
Okay.
I just want to get him out. Whatever gets him out. You know, and. I think Biden was trying to kind of answer the call of what he heard people asking for, which was a Black woman or to be represented for, you know, on that, especially because he falls short sometimes. And, you know, I just whatever gets Trump out. Like somebody said, I'm like, I don't care if we catch Biden doing the craziest shit at this point, like just not Trump. I won't survive another 4 years of that. I think it's insane what I've seen so far from even the whole administration and the way they kind of back him no matter what nonsense he says and does. Like, just no more Trump, please. I can't take any more. I didn't think he would last this
long. What if Trump legalizes marijuana? What would you think then?
Still, no, I can't. I'll go somewhere else. I can't do it. I really, even if he pushes my interest, I'm not the kind of person who can ignore all of the other just completely like morally wrong. He's just wrong on so many levels. And to me, he's just not very bright. Like he speaks like a third grader, you know? I can't watch that anymore.
No, I hear you. Now, Candice, before we end the podcast, I need from you two things.
Okay.
First, let us know where we can go and attain your services. Okay. Number two, give a message out there to the people, letting them know, you know, why you're the bomb, you know, in terms of this edible game, and you know, and a little motivation for people that want to get in this industry.
Well, you can find me and my product at baked_NYCC on Instagram. And why me? I like I said, I put all of my love and positive energy and hopeful, peaceful energy into making this to kind of uplift people, you know, to keep people lifted during these hard times. And life is hard in general without a pandemic, you know what I mean? So just trying to like keep people lifted, and I have that positive vibe behind it, and then they're just absolutely delicious. They're delicious and they do the job, you know? So they're delicious, they're affordable, and they do the job. And it's definitely, try me once and you'll know.
What are the prices before we head out? Like, what are the prices of all your edibles? All one price was happening.
One cupcake is $10, and then I'll do a deal 6 for $50 and a dozen for $100.
Wow.
So kind of get 6, you get 1 free, get 12, you get 2 free.
Wow.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. All right, you cannabis consumers, you know, get on the game. You already know it's baked_NYCC if you want to get to a higher level of your
stay lifted.
You know what I'm saying? Well, Miss Candice Grissett, thank you for putting us on to the edible game and the edible experience. I hope to see your business grow and you get more of a chunk of that $30 billion that's out there right now.
I'll just take one. I'm good with one.
All right, baby girl. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you later, all right?
Thank you.
Cool. Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my interview today with one of the finest cannabis edible makers in the tri-state area, Miss Candice Grissett. And please don't forget to continue following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to know what I'm up to on my social media, you can follow me at Angel of Words ENT, all one word. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Talk to you later.